Well, hey, I made it. I'm less than a pound away to getting my goal. My goal was 175 pounds. Absolutely amazed. Every diet I've tried in the past is, some have worked a little bit, but none have given me that goal that I keep on reaching for, and that is, was always 175 in my back of my head. I may keep going. I'm not quite sure, but I'm shocked and amazed and just full of gratitude that I found a way. I found a way out of carrying around all that weight and feeling miserable and everything else. So I'm just making a video just to show anybody out there, because I believe in recovery. I believe in recovery for drugs, smoking, and now finally the hardest of all, weight loss and food. What I had to do is, well, let me go back. When I first started, I was about at 220. And I know that's not crazy amount, but everything sticks and everything's hard to get rid of. And no matter whether you're at 500 pounds or just a little bit overweight, it's when you feel so powerless that it's, no matter how much you try, it just keeps coming back. And that's been my experience really over the last 20 years. Is after I quit doing methamphetamines, I ballooned up to change seat on the Titanic and went to hamburgers instead of drug addicts' houses. But that's kind of normal for someone with an addiction, is to switch sides, and that's what I did. I got up to, like I said, 220, and I tried different diets, like a low carb diet, which was mainly barely 20 grams of carbs a day, and low sugar. And what I was left with was let's see, tacos. Who can't go wrong on a taco diet? But in the end, it did get me down to, from 220 down to about 200, and I hovered there for quite a long time. And after I got down to 200, no matter how much I've tried, no matter how many different diets, and I even tried the same diet over, which is just a lot of meat. And the problem with that is when I got back off the diet, I love chips. And you know, it says you can have all the dairy you want, and you can have all the meats and cheeses and everything, and I would always just shoot right back to 200. And finally 51 hit, or 50 years old hit, and high blood pressure hit me, and that made me give me a choice to make, whether that is to continue down the path I was, continue eating the way I was, and start taking pills that have a terrible track record of keeping you healthy. So I don't know, I was going to try one more time. And this time I was going to try the whole food route, vegan route. Started watching some vegans and started really finding out how they treat animals. It's pretty pathetic. But I'm not here to trash on any of that, and I didn't stick to a vegan diet. I stuck to pretty much a whole food diet, and the biggest part of that was no oil. There's so many calories in oil, and that's all different kinds, including olive oil. There is no such thing as a heart healthy oil. There's no such thing as anything that is healthy about any oil. No matter how much these manufacturers spend billions of dollars to make you believe that oil is good for you, and the same manufacturers spent billions of dollars to make eggs sound like they were good for you, and that they did not raise your cholesterol. And they do raise your cholesterol. If you do your research, you'll find out that that's all just a bunch of lies by billionaires with money. It's pretty bad when a food company spends a quarter of what they make in advertisement and another quarter of what they make in scientific studies until they find the one they're going to actually publish, and all the rest can be all bad, but they find one little niche and one good one, and that's the one they're going to push and push and push with all their millions of dollars in advertisements. But let me get off my soapbox and get back where I was. The reality of it is, whole food diet helped me to get through the first month because I am a food addict. I can eat a bag of chips, I can eat ice cream every night. Those are my favorites. You know, I even got away from cookies and pop during my last experiments with dieting. I learned to fast my way out of certain foods. I learned to not drink pop for a period of time, and all of a sudden it lost its grip on me. I did the same for chocolate. I did the same for even ice cream. I still couldn't get away from ice cream once or twice a week, but it's the little baby steps that help us get where we need to go. So back to the idea. This time was mainly about calorie density. I started to look at foods that had high calories versus low calories, and even a plant-based diet. Is that you realize that you can't eat corn all day, you can't eat rice all day, you can't eat potatoes all day, even though there are people that are successful. So I'm no professional. I just know that there's a lot of calories in these things. Even though in the beginning I did eat potatoes every day and I did lose weight. But there's also something that your body gets sick of eating the same thing, and your body acts sick, so you lose weight. So on a different note, there's so much involved in the dieting world. But I'm trying to keep this simple, trying to remember this myself, just in case I balloon back up. I'm gonna need my own help to get back to where I feel confident to lose weight again. And when I started, it was with all plant-based foods. I learned to make cabbage, cooked cabbage, not so much, I mean, I tried everything in the beginning, everything from squash to broccoli, spinach, tried cooking, got a wok. I even used chopsticks to help slow down my eating. Mushrooms and onions, and after a time I've really developed a love for onions and mushrooms. And instead of sauteing them in oil, I would saute them in chicken broth. Yeah, some vegan I turned out to be, but man, it has such great flavor and low fat, no calories, that kind of thing. But I'm sure somebody can tell me that there is calories, it's just the serving size. Feel free to comment on anything below. I just, I don't want to be alone in. It seems like so many people out there that they do this over and over again. When I quit smoking, I didn't want to tell anybody because I had failed so many times, and I didn't want to fail again and let everybody know, oh, there he is smoking again. And with dieting, it became the same way. I didn't want to tell anybody I was dieting because I didn't want to fail. Now, there he goes. What happened to the diet? You know how that goes. But this time, changing my diet over to pure plant-based allowed me to eat as much as I wanted, which curbs that other times where you're trying restrictive diets or restriction diets, which I always failed. I could not do a starvation diet. I could not do fasting. I could fast a food, but I can't fast all food. Learning how to cook and getting on YouTube, figuring out every way to cook a vegetable known to man. Pickles became my best friend, the little tiny ones. I'd sit there, get a huge jar, and just eat them one after another because they're very low calorie. Yeah, I know, the salt is so bad for you. But one thing at a time. Big thing is to focus on the addiction, trying to curb the addiction. And what I had found is it took a month for me to gain some control on my eating, to the point where I could walk past food. Big thing is no bad food in the house. No chocolates, no candies, no chips. Even though there was Doritos in the cabinet through this whole thing. I broke down a couple of times and I ate them. But I also measured it out and change battery.